Welcome to Focus Washington. I'm Chuck Conconi, and my guest today is Wyeth Ruthven, Senior Director at Caucus and author of the Twitter Valuation Analysis. Great to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, it's good to be back.
Now, it's interesting to me as I look at the statistical information you've gotten from Twitter. It's been very volatile, the campaign, the Republican campaign in Iowa. And what does it look like on Twitter?
Well, you know, we're coming up on the Iowa caucuses, so I wore my Chuck Grassley red sweater today. And you're right. It's been very volatile in Iowa and in kind of just the national polls in general. We've had one candidate rise and one candidate fall, not just in the polls, but on Twitter. You know, we were here about a month ago and we were talking about the phenomenal growth that Herman Cain had, you know, on Twitter. He's completely out of the polls now, and I think what we've seen here, you know, Ron Paul, you know, who has kind of like suddenly surprised everybody by coming into the top tier in Iowa, his Twitter account has grown steadily 20% a month for 4 months in a row. You know, while, you know, Mitt Romney.
And during the month of December, it came up to almost 29%.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So, but I think the other, you know, big surprise here has been Rick Santorum, you know, because, you know, back when we started doing this Twitter valuation study in August, Santorum, you know, well, first of all, he was in last place in terms of Twitter followers. He's nearly doubled his following in the last 4 months. And just in this past month, with all of this focus on his social conservative message and, you know, the consolidation of that vote in Iowa, he's really started to grow. I think it's 22%.
22%.
Just in December.
What I find fascinating about what you have found in all this is that the Twitter accounting that you're doing pretty much matches the political pollsters. Does that surprise you?
You know, it doesn't surprise me. I think what it is, you know, Twitter is like a handshake in politics. It's a small investment for a voter to make. You know, it costs nothing for a voter to follow a candidate on Twitter as opposed to giving them a donation or promising them their vote. So I think it's a lot of ways that when a candidate catches fire, you know, in the polls or says something, you know, interesting or provocative, there's a tendency to be, well, I'm going to follow them on Twitter and see what comes of that.
Well, now I've noticed in this, of course, that you have Barack Obama, who hasn't had a large growth, but he has huge numbers of followers, and it's because he's president. He's been at it longer, I assume.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, he started Twitter back during the 2008 campaign, and it's interesting to see how in 2008 Twitter was really a non-factor. It was a brand new technology. It really was, you know, 2009, 2010 where Twitter started to take off. He has about 11 million followers, and you do see, you know, among large accounts, there is a slowdown. There is kind of a plateau. Sure. I think the fact that he averages, you know, between 2 and 5% a month is still significant, though.
Well, this will fluctuate wildly, I guess, especially after the Iowa vote in New Hampshire. But can you see where it might be going for the candidates?
Well, I think what you'll see, I'm reminded of something that happened with John McCain in 2000. You know, John McCain surprised everybody, won the New Hampshire primary, and for the first time when he spoke at the podium for his victory speech, there was the URL web address of John McCain, you know, .com or McCain 2000. I don't even remember what it was. The point is that the next day, that website crashed from the number of small donations that the McCain campaign got building off of that momentum. So I think any kind of online organizing or advocacy, whether it's online fundraising or a candidate's website or their Twitter account, it's a platform to take advantage of what the voters have to say.
Do you think there's any loyalty with the Twitter account? Would you be willing to make any predictions on who's going to get the nomination and where it's going to go in November? Oh, it's a long, because we're going to come back and talk about this.
Sure. Well, you know, as far as Iowa goes, I think the most interesting thing to watch on caucus night is going to be how many people turn out I mean, in 2008, there were 119,000 Republicans who voted in the Republican caucus in 2008. Romney got about 30,000 votes. Huckabee got 41,000 votes. So it'll be interesting to see, does Romney improve on his number from 2008? And then if, some people have said that, basically that Santorum and Bachmann and Perry are kind of splitting the old Huckabee vote, that if there were one candidate everyone could get behind, Romney would be in much worse shape in Iowa.
All right, well, I won't hold you to any predictions today, but Wyeth, we're going to do this as the year goes on.
Sure.
Wyeth Ruthven, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Chuck.
I'm Chuck Coney, and this has been Focus Washington.